Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hello everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. Joining me today from Iceland is Eyvindur Karlsson. Hello, how are you?
I am very well. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited you're joining me today because we're going to be talking all about how to overcome the fear of failure as songwriters. This is huge and I'm very excited to get into this. But before we do, can you share with the listeners a little bit about yourself and your journey with songwriting so far and anything else you'd like to share?
Sure. I've been writing songs since I learned how to play an instrument pretty much. Uh, but I've been a professional songwriter for about 20 years. Uh, Lately, for the past few years, I've mostly worked in theater. But I also, I'm a singer-songwriter, so I also perform live and release music under my own name and things. And I used to release it under an artist name, which was One Bad Day, but that was a mistake, so I changed it back to my name. And yeah, I'm Icelandic. I live in Iceland and work mostly online because the market here is pretty small. So I'm an online songwriter and I teach songwriting as well and coach songwriters. And I've been fortunate enough to get to work on award-winning musicals where I've written the music and performed in them as well. I've been fortunate to get to travel the world with some of those shows, and also to get to travel to singer songwriter festivals around the world and meet a lot of other songwriters. So I'm very passionate about a community of songwriters, the community aspect of songwriters working together, collaborating, helping each other out, that sort of thing. That's a big passion of mine. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
That's fabulous and so inspiring, and I completely agree. I think when I started songwriting, my favorite part was, even from the beginning, meeting other songwriters, whether that be at retreats or just online and at shows. It's just very inspiring to connect with other creatives who are out there trying to do exactly what we're doing. And I think when you have that special community of other writers, when you're supporting each other and lifting each other up, that gives you a lot of motivation to keep going. So I completely love that whole community aspect as well.
Yeah, and you learn so much by working with others and watching others how their process differs from yours and so on. So I think it's just a wonderful thing.
Definitely is. So let's shift gears a little bit here and talk about failure. So you found a great quote by Michael Jordan. Would you like to read that?
Yes, Michael Jordan said the key to success is failure.
So simple and so true. What does this mean to you?
Well, uh, there's another famous quote. I forget who said it, but this is you should never compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And to me, it's we're so used to looking at artists that we admire at their peak and comparing ourselves to that. But everybody fails, and if you don't take the risk of failure, and you don't, if you're not comfortable with that risk, that yes, I'm going to try this, and maybe I'll look like an idiot, but at least I'll learn from the experience. You can't grow if you don't do that. I make a lot of comparisons between songwriting and exercise because to me, songwriting is you have to do it consistently in order to grow as a songwriter. If you just sit down once a month to write songs, then it's so difficult to get going. You're not in the rhythm, you're not in the habit. Same as with exercise. If you want to do it once a month, you're going to hurt yourself. And you know, when and another exercise analogy related to failure is when you're building muscles, you're tearing down the muscles and rebuilding them. And with failure, I think it's the same thing. You fail at something, and that's going to improve your art because you learn from that mistake. And also, like Michael Jordan again, he said that he's missed more shots than anybody because he's taken more shots than anybody. And if you don't take the shot, you'll never make it. And so it's so important to me to not be afraid of failure and not being afraid of sometimes maybe looking a bit silly because the end result is going to be growth.
Exactly. And I think too, like, I kind of look at failure as stepping stones because every time you fail, it's another chance to learn and grow. And maybe you make a mistake and then you know next time not to do that. Or maybe something happened that you failed, you tried your best, but it just didn't work out. That's a learning experience. And I think every single time you fail is a chance for you to reflect what happened, see what you can learn from it. Because I feel like every single time you get in situations where you feel like you didn't do your best or you failed, that just makes you more perseverant and resilient to keep going. And I think, especially when looking at the music industry, it takes very thick skin to be here.
Yeah.
And so I think the more you fail, especially starting out, if you have these situations where you're forced to keep going and forced to reflect on yourself and grow, that's just going to help you in the long run.
Exactly. It's it's much better to there's again this is probably a quote that I just can't remember, but it's much better to have tried and failed than not to have tried at all. And if you fail at something, you should be happy that you took a risk rather than feeling down because it didn't work out.
Right. Exactly. So, where do you think the fear of failure stems from?
Well, I'm sure there are different reasons, but I think mainly it's a confidence thing. And I think that I talk to a lot of songwriters, and unfortunately, I think one of the it's sort of the theme that I see with a lot of songwriters that are struggling with their art and craft. And I'm sure this is true for artists in other disciplines as well, is a lack of confidence in some way. And part of it is that, especially with songwriting, it's so easy to compare yourself to other people when really we should just be focused on being the best version of ourselves that we can, because I'm the only version of me that there is. um and so I think confidence, it's especially like you said, with the internet, and there's so much noise and there's so much, you have to have thick skin. And uh it's so much easier to focus on the negative feedback that you get than on the positive. And you need 100 uh words of praise for one to offset every one word of that puts you down. And so I think that that's a big part of it, is that we have an internal monologue, many of us, that sort of says you're really not good enough. And so
Hmm.
when the time comes to take a chance on something, to try something risky, we have a tendency to automatically say, no, I can't do that, I'm not good enough. And I'll look foolish if I try. I mean, we humans are pack animals, right? We want to fit into society. Even when we say, and I went through this phase, as probably everyone does at one point or another, where it's like, no, I don't want to fit in. I'm a misfit, and I'm just going to stay on the outside and blah blah blah. When then what you're doing is you're trying to fit in with the other misfits, right?
Yeah.
So we all have to fit in somewhere. And I think when faced with the possibility of doing something to alienate ourselves from that group that we want to fit in with,
Mhm.
it's very scary.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you brought up society, and that brings up the other point that I feel like a lot of these failures can stem from societal expectations and what people believe to be success. Because I think there are many different forms of success, and what it might mean to one person might be different for somebody else. And I think when we have these pressures put on us from outside forces, that can kind of hold us back too, because we might have the mindset of, I'm going to try this and see what happens. But from the outside, like friends and family and other people close to us, if they see us trying and we fail, letting them down and that feeling of not being good enough for others' expectations can also cause you to feel like you're not worthy either. So,
Yes, yeah, and that's something that I've had to really work on with myself. Just you know, sharing my things like the work that I'm doing, the songs, I have a podcast as well, which and just having the courage to share those things with the people that I know, because I don't mind promoting these things to strangers, but when it comes to my friends, I feel more self-conscious, and I think that comes back to this lack of confidence in me that I need to possibly probably work on, and it's a form of anxiety to
for sure.
oh my god, I don't want these people that I love and respect to judge me. I don't care if Joe Blow thinks I'm an idiot. That doesn't matter. But if my cousins think I'm stupid, then that's going to affect me somehow. When in reality, they're not going to think that. And if I do something silly, they're going to say, "Oh well, he's at least trying something." That's. So I always tend to think, what's the worst thing that can happen? Really?
Yeah.
No, I really like taking that thought to its extreme. Like, and this was something that I learned in therapy because I have dealt with anxiety for years, and my psychologist said, just take that thought. What's the worst thing that can happen? If you're afraid of something, what's the worst thing that can happen? And take it all the way. Like, yes, people will laugh at me. Okay, and so that means what? What's the worst that can happen from that? Well, I'll feel silly. And so, anytime I take that to the extreme, I always come to the conclusion that I will not die or lose my house. And so it's probably fine to take the chance.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes we can trick ourselves into believing even the worst outcome could be way worse than it actually will be. And I think it comes down to, like you said, that anxiety and fear of expectations and lack of confidence. Because when you are in a situation where you're not doing well or something goes bad, everything is like max to the extreme and it seems way worse than it actually is.
Yeah, and also I think that I remind myself very often that people think of me a lot less than I think they think of me.
Uh huh, for sure.
Meaning not they think less of me, but meaning they don't think about me all that much.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the times we make a mistake or we post something silly somewhere and maybe somebody gets mad about it. But then nobody's thinking about that half an hour later
Yeah.
except us,
Yeah.
right? So that's something it's healthy to remind yourself, I think, that we are not the center of anyone's universe except our own and maybe our like parents and significant other and children, and that's about it.
Right.
Other than that, people don't spend a lot of time thinking about us, so it's okay if we and I am pretty sure that most people think more about us when we're doing well than when we make a mistake.
Right. No, that's a great point. And I think you're starting to shift a little bit into ways of dealing with this failure, with recognizing that we're not the sun in everybody's, solar system. Because like we are ourselves and we're on our own journeys, and though we might think that people are thinking about us all the time and watching what we're doing, you're right. They focus when we're doing well, and that's when we start getting all those messages and praise and all that. But when you're not doing well, that's not necessarily drawing attention. They might just be thinking, "Oh, they're not succeeding," but that doesn't really matter because you're on your journey to success, and every failure is a stepping stone. But what are some other ways that you have found to help deal with overcoming fear of failure?
Well, to me, I mean, this is an anxiety. It's a form of, it's almost, like phobias are a form of anxiety as well. And the way you deal with, if you have a phobia, if you have a fear, a strong fear of something, and we're talking about fear of failure, you I've found that just desensitizing yourself to it is the best way. So throughout the years, I've set myself up for failure on purpose in various not high risk ways, but just stretched my limits a little bit, stepped way outside my comfort zone. And that way you sort of train yourself to be prepared for failure. So it's really about allowing yourself to fail, but doing it in a strategic way so that, okay, I'm going to try doing this, and it's fine if I fail. I'm going to allow myself to fail. And that way, if you actually fail at something where the stakes are higher, you'll be better equipped to deal with it.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I have, if you want to get into that now, I have like 7 things that I've done and that I recommend people try out if you want to just get something practical to that you can just, and so people can grab a paper and pencil and just write these down. And
Awesome.
now then this is like this is a playbook for if you want to get over fear of failure, right?
Let's hear it.
The first thing that this was actually probably the first thing that I ever did to, not consciously, but at the time subconsciously, train myself to get over the fear of failure was speed writing. And I don't know if you've done a lot of speed writing, but it's a really great way to step out of your comfort zone. And you can't really be a perfectionist, and you have to kind of stop caring too much about the outcome. And about almost 20 years ago, I was in a duet, and we used to play this bar every weekend. And we set ourselves a challenge of writing a song every Friday and performing it the same night. And invariably, it was awful. It was not. I think we did write one that was pretty good. And we actually we whenever we get together to perform now, which is rarely, but when we do, we still perform that song. But the rest were horrible, and most of the time we'd even forget how the song what the song was like. When we were up there playing, we were like, I have no idea what the melody was or the chords or anything. But that really trained me to to desensitize me to failure, because we'd get up there, try to sing a song that we sort of half remembered, and it was not a good song. But we did it on stage. So I'm not suggesting that everybody do that.
That's great though, because I was just in Nashville in November and I was there for a songwriting retreat. And for the main days, like for 3 days, we had to write a song in like 2.5 hours and then perform it for the rest of the group that night. And literally, not a single performance was perfect. We were forgetting our lyrics, forgetting the chords, but it was so fun. And we all succeeded in our own ways because we wrote songs. They might not have been perfect, but we forced ourselves to get up there and perform because we had to. And I think that was a great experience, similar to yours. Like, you have to get up there and perform it. You made the choice, whereas, we had to do that. But I think being in a position like that where you set yourself up to perform something you just wrote, that's setting yourself up for the experience. You might fail, you might succeed, but you're getting that experience.
Yeah, and the way you're describing it, doing it in a setting like that is a much sort of lower risk version of what we did.
Right.
And I think and that's a great idea for anybody listening, if you can pull that off, to get a few friends together, and everybody goes into their own corner or whatever, and writes a song in a couple hours, and then everybody performs for the group. That's a great exercise to do,
Yeah.
and really proves to you that you're able to do it, and that hey, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. It's nobody died. It's
Right.
everybody's
Exactly.
still happy.
Yeah, and that's a great experience too, because if you're ever in a position like a songwriting situation where you have the opportunity to write a song for a big artist and they give you 3 hours to do it, then you have experience of writing under pressure and not being trapped in your head. Oh my God, am I going to fail? Oh my God, is this going to be bad? Like if you've trained yourself to do that, then you're going to be focused on the task, not the failure.
Yeah, yeah. That I think is I think that's actually that was actually I kind of mixed up 2 points here, but my second point was to do that to find a way to write a song and then, perform it for someone uh immediately after
Yeah.
is I think that's, and you kind of just came up with the best way to do that. Um and my third point then is and this is actually really hard. And I've been doing this with my songwriting audience, but that is to write in front of other people.
Oh wow. Never done that.
It's very strange, and I only do it on video, and it's still the weirdest thing I've ever done. Well, actually, and I also have written in the theater when I'm writing for songs. That's where this sort of comes from. Is sometimes they say, okay, we need a new song in here, and so they'll give me the lyrics, and I like have an hour to come up with the song with the music to the lyrics. And so I have actually been forced to just do that in front of the group, and it's very cringeworthy, but a very good education and kind of in my cases that sort of has forced me to examine and look at sort of my process and how I work,
Hmm.
which in turn has helped me to communicate that to other songwriters, which is great. But so it's a really hard thing to do, and very awkward. But it is, it makes you vulnerable and it really forces you outside of your comfort zone. And that to me is always good. Whenever you can force yourself out of your comfort zone, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that too. Also, when you're writing in a situation of pressure like that, in front of other people, or in your situation, trying to write a song for an hour for theater, I think that really makes you sit back and recognize the tools you have that you can use and recognize like where your strengths are, where you might be lacking. Because we as songwriters have so many tools that we can draw upon for things in our songs that aren't working. And I think writing under pressure like that, we have to step away from over analyzing every single thing and trying to be super innovative all the time and actually think about, okay, these are the tools I have. How am I going to use them most effectively this quickly?
Exactly. And moving sort of continuing on from that, my fourth thing is not that's not really setting yourself up for failure so much, but it does push you outside your comfort zone. And that's we've touched on this before is collaborating with others,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a whole different experience to write with someone else.
Right.
And it teaches you so much because normally songwriting is a solitary activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're until you start to actually work with other musicians on the song, then it's your canvas, your playground. You can do anything. But when you're working with somebody else, you're forced to make concessions, and you need to listen. That's probably the most important aspect of that, is listening to the other person and giving and taking, and all of that. And I think that again, it makes you vulnerable, and it also puts you into that frame of mind of allowing this other person in, because the collaboration can't work unless you sort of lower the barriers a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the same feeling as when you make yourself vulnerable and open to failure. So that's a very low risk way of training those responses, if you will.
Yeah, no, I love co-writing. I try to do it as much as possible. And I think what's so great about co-writing is if you're writing with great people who are there for the right reasons, you're all there to create a great song and nobody's judging anybody else. And I think that's a really safe space to lay ideas out on the table and chat over different things. If you have writer's block, maybe somebody else in the room is inspired at that moment. And I think that's a nice way to kind of lift the weight off yourself a little bit, because you're not the only one trying to write the song, and you're all relying on each other to create a great song. And yeah, no, I love co-writing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, because again, I've my most of my work in the past few years has been in the theater, where it's all about collaboration, and so that to me is kind of natural, and it just because when you have different skill sets coming together and different experiences, the sum tends to be greater. No, the whole sentence. Sorry, I messed that up. The whole tends to be greater than the sum of its parts,
Right.
um, and it's just such a great learning experience to to get to see how somebody else's process is. And that's actually another thing about writing in front of other people. Then you're also sharing your process,
Right.
and I think that's very uh, I'm so passionate, like I said, about community and about reaching out, and I just think that the reason I wanted to get into coaching and teaching other people is because songs are so magical, and the more great songs we have, the better this world is going to be. And so, anytime that you can share something with other songwriters and share a part of your process and inspire other people, you're making this world a better place.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. Awesome. What's your next tip?
All right. Yeah. So, item number 5 on my list here is to seek out honest reviews and really pay attention to what they say.
Right.
And by that I mean, don't go to your social media following or your email list or whatever. Don't go to people who already know you, but go to there are websites where you can pay a little bit and get reviews. There's taxi.com is one of them, and there are others where, yeah, I don't know, you pay $10 or something and you get a review of your music. Or you can enter into a songwriting competition and then they'll send you feedback. So get an impartial person to review your song.
Yeah, I'm all for that. There's so many different places, and I think it's so important because when you make the choice to let somebody else listen to your song, that's a whole level of vulnerability. And you're also giving yourself a chance. You're giving the song a chance and saying, okay, I wrote this. What do you think about it? And you're not being afraid of the feedback, because you can always go back and revise it, rewrite it to make it better. And so I think giving yourself that chance and taking that risk to actually ask for feedback is huge. And I try to do that as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think it's so. First of all, when you get that kind of honest feedback, usually you'll get. I mean, probably you'll get some negative feedback if if it's constructive criticism. They're probably trying to give you something to improve on, and but they'll also point out the positives. And so I think when you get that kind of feedback, you're going to if you really pay attention and you put yourself in your most sort of impartial mode and try to leave your emotions out of it as much as possible, then you'll get like a bird's eye view. Okay, so this is what people see as the positives of my work, and you can focus on that. And of course, you'll see where you have room for improvement, and you just go, okay, so I can fix these, but focus on the positives, and also rejoice in the fact that you opened yourself up, you were vulnerable, and you allowed somebody to, you opened yourself up for judgment, which is a huge step. And
For sure.
again, one of those things that can help you.
Completely. What's next?
So yeah, next is get somebody else to perform your songs.
Oh, wow. Great one.
Yeah, that was a huge thing for me when I started working with this great singer I met. She's amazing. We've done a lot of work together since we started working together about 10 years ago, and I was very self-conscious about bringing my songs to her, and I had dozens of songs that I had never done anything with. I write very fast, so I have a lot of songs, like a back catalog of things that I haven't, recorded or published or anything, just sitting there. And so I brought her some of these things, and one of the songs I was like, I don't know, but I wrote it as a duet, so I thought this really, we can do a duet, and but I wasn't sure about the song. I was very self-conscious about it. Didn't think it was very good. And I brought it and I played it to her, and she was just absolutely floored. She said, "This is the best song you've ever written." And so I saw the song through her eyes, and she started singing it, and with a lot of passion, and really made me look at that song in a completely different light. And so I think that's a great way. When you see the way others interpret your songs, you'll see something different in them. You'll see something different in you as an artist, and it's confidence building, and again, it's a vulnerable as well, but in a low risk way.
That's fantastic. I never even thought of that. And I think the other layer of that too is like when somebody else is singing one of your songs, you're kind of experiencing it from the listener point of view. There might be things you notice of, oh, I might want to change that. Or there might be a moment in the song that you didn't think was a big special moment until you actually heard somebody else sing it. So you'll notice things about the song that you haven't noticed when you performed it yourself. That's great. I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely been my experience too. You see, oh, I never thought, there's like this, oh, there's a hook there, and I never thought of performing it like that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That takes the song to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So that's great. And my final thing is very simple and very low risk, but definitely a great way to push yourself out of the comfort zone is to set yourself a songwriting challenge, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
I just think challenges are such a great way to push yourself out of the comfort zone and do things. And I mean, speed writing is a form of that. But like whether I especially enjoy things where you sort of go, okay, I'm going to write a song. Like right now, I'm going to be a guest on another show where I'm writing a song, and it's going to be played on that show, and I have a week to do it, which is a great challenge. And or you could say, okay, I'm going to take 24 hours and I'm going to write 12 songs in 24 hours, or something. And I actually have like on my website, there's you can get this ebook with songwriting prompts. And it's a great, I collected 28 of my favorite songwriting prompts, and the challenge there is that it's one prompt for every day for 4 weeks. And so I challenge you to write 28 songs in 4 weeks
Oh,
based on
that's
those prompts.
nuts. That's crazy. Yeah, there's so many different things. Like I love that as well. Even just doing like sensory writing with an object, like, oh, I'm gonna write a song about this place or this thing, and then writing a song about that. Or, somebody mentioned to me not too long ago the whole thing of like taking a song and writing an answer song to the other
Yeah,
song,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is really cool. There's so many different ways to like push yourself because I think what this does is it forces you to write songs that you haven't necessarily willingly written, because we can get locked into writing the same style or the same concept over and over again. But when we set ourselves songwriting challenges, we force ourselves to step out of our comfort zones and write, which in turn gives us more flexibility. And when we're in situations where we have to write something different than what we're usually doing, then we have a better chance of succeeding rather than failing at that.
Exactly. And that's why I think doing this, and that's why I put this together. And it's, you can, if you go to my website, you can, it's like a free ebook. And then it has some sort of guidelines to how to make it successful. And I think the great thing about it is if you do this, if you're a songwriter, and especially if you're an experienced songwriter and you've done it for a while, and you do this and you just seriously commit to, okay, I'm going to take these prompts and I'm going to write from one every day. And it's okay if you don't completely finish the song, but you'll have an outline or a good idea for a song after, every day. Then I guarantee that you're going to grow as a songwriter, because there's no way that you're going to sit down every day for a month to write and force yourself out of your comfort zone and explore things that you hadn't considered before, and you're not going to be better at the end of it.
Hmm. Wow, 7 incredible tips. I'm blown away. These have been incredible, incredible suggestions. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Before you go, can you share final tips for anyone listening about why it's so important and how they can overcome their failure and fears of failure?
Well, I think just being open to making yourself vulnerable is like the theme here. I think uh, anything that you can do where you open yourself up and make yourself vulnerable is a good learning experience. Of course, within reason. And again, I keep saying this, but they should be sort of low risk situations. Um, it's again, it's same as with exercise. It's when you're exercising, you're getting sort of micro trauma to your body, and that's what makes it grow. And it's the same with this stuff. You're lowering your barriers, you're lowering your defenses a little bit, and that's going to again open you up to these micro quote unquote trauma events where you might not it might not work out, or it might, but you're exposing yourself to your fear, and that's going to help you grow as an artist and as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. Wow. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom. This has been so inspiring, and I hope all the listeners got something out of this as much as I did. So, thank you so much for joining me. Can you share with everyone where they can find you online and your website and anything else you'd like to share?
Sure, absolutely. On social media, you'll find my name, Eyvindur Karlsson. That's hard. I'm sure you'll post that in the description so people can
Yeah.
copy paste that. And but if you want to check out that free ebook that I mentioned, and you absolutely should, then go to my website, my songwriting website, which is strongwriting.net. See, that's why I keep mentioning exercise, because it's
It's
play on
perfect.
words.
I love the pun. It's great.
Yeah. So it's strongwriting.net. And there you'll find that ebook. You'll find my songwriting podcast, which is brand new, and all kinds of goodies there. And if you want to hear some of my music, you can go to my music website, which is at onebadday.is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again for joining me. It was an honor having you.
That was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. Listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode all about overcoming your fear of failure. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay
right
right
on
on
track.
track.